Is this gonna start?
It's at 7:30.
What?
I just joined because I thought I'd just get on early, but it's at 7:30.
Oh, I'll be back.
Ah. And you can share, yes? And I can share. So I could share right from here. Yeah. That's right, and you're gonna put it up here, right?
No, because right now it's my computer connected to the, but your computer could be connected right now, and then we switch to my computer with my presentation.
Ah. Okay.
You can put it here, or let's put it here.
Okay.
Assessment, athletics, et cetera.
There is funny stuff.
Hi everyone, I'm Professor Gallagher. Hi everyone.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Foster Center workshop. It's very strange. I'm talking to you and I'm talking to a classroom of people. We're kicking off a new leadership certificate series. This is the opportunity for students to obtain leadership certificates. So I have a video of me talking, which is better than me talking because I don't have a mask on. So I'm going to share that with you and play the video.
Everyone, I'm Professor Gallagher. I'm a finance professor. Hi, everyone. I'm Professor Gallagher. I'm a finance professor here at St. Bonaventure, and I'm the director of the Foster Center for Responsible Leadership. The mission of our Foster Leadership Center is to provide a grounding for students in ethical, responsible decision-making skills guided by our Franciscan values and tradition. It strives to integrate Franciscan values with business and civic leadership. Over the years, the Foster Center has conducted workshops and events for students on everything from professional writing, networking, public speaking, marketing themselves, and more. We bring speakers to campus, moderate panel discussions, and we host a biannual leadership conference, all centered on developing ethical leadership skills in the Franciscan tradition. While housed in the School of Business, the center embraces a cross-discipline mission initiative. The Leadership Center seeks to encourage and develop students that have demonstrated leadership qualities and exemplify the Franciscan values central to our mission here at St. Bonaventure. This semester, we are launching a pilot program in leadership certification. I would like to encourage all of you to get involved and participate in our new initiative. Thank you.
Okay, wasn't that fantastic? It's I think you have to cut us a little slack. Learning this new digital world is a little bit challenging, you know, and we're trying to adapt. So making a video was one of the ways that we're trying to adapt and learn how to convey our message as professors and mentors, etc. So this new leadership program, I'll share with you the flyer that perhaps you have seen. This is Team Leadership 1. It's a pilot program we're launching this semester. We hope to have a number of different leadership certificates available. So these are certificates that you would earn. Dr. Palmer has come up with the fancy name, Bona Badges. So over the course of your time at Bonaventure, you can collect these certificates, put them on your resume, say to people, hey, I did this program and, you know, it's all good, right? So this is a new Leadership Program 1, and you may have seen this flyer. Proactively initiate leadership roles. Encourage leadership during your time at St. Bonaventure. Develop the skills and attitudes associated with being a leader. Network with alumni and the credentials for your job search. So a whole bunch of good things, right? What we would ask of you coming into this program, fill out a form on this website. Yeah, it's a Google Docs. Fill out the form. During the semester, you'll do 10 hours of leadership, which may include going to the warming house with Management 301, taking some sort of leadership role on campus, such as the Franciscan Center, Bona Responds, the Foster Leadership Center, some club, some student team. Take a leadership role off campus. Participate in these workshops. This is what we're calling a workshop tonight. Comrade is going to talk to you about leadership skills. And so we will host these workshops as we go along through the semester. Integrity, ethics, these are paramount to being a good leader, especially coming out of a school like St. Bonaventure. And participate in a mentoring session organized by the Foster Center. So we will mentor you through the process. Share with the community your challenges, your achievements, the lessons that you learned through this experience. This you would do in a reflection, and we would provide you with the rubric for explaining to us what did you do so that we can showcase you better. And you would get a formal confirmation of successfully completing this leadership project from whoever is associated with your project. So again, the form is here, a Google Docs form. Fill out the certificate, say what you're interested in doing, and we go from there. I'd like to stop sharing and talk to everybody a little bit more. In addition to, some of you may have to do this for classes. Some of you may, in this new transition to digital learning, be team leaders within your classes. So I'd like to augment that with a few other ideas. And one of the ideas that we've been kicking around is the development of a digital portfolio platform. And so in addition to maybe doing a leadership program in your class, you could work on this digital portfolio platform. What we're talking about is having a place, a website, where you as a student can post your resume, post a video of yourself, say who you are, say what your accomplishments are, right? I think this is a fantastic opportunity because of the pandemic to create some new tools so you guys can be more marketable. So that's one thing that I was thinking about, that this is a great opportunity for someone. The other idea is, I know Dean James of the School of Business is interested in some activities associated with Black Lives Matter. And if someone wants to get involved in some sort of leadership role associated with that, that would be fantastic, you know? So there are a lot of different ideas and a lot of different routes that you can take. And we would love to hear about them. And we would love to have you sign up and get involved in this thing. I think that might be all I have. Do you guys have any questions? Does anybody have questions? Okay, that leaves me to turn tonight's workshop over to a comrade who's going to lead us in some discussion about leadership topics. So thank you, everyone.
So good evening, everyone. So let me set up my computer. It will take a minute, okay? I will just use my computer. So bear with me. So we can disconnect yours. Okay. That's my connection. Okay. So hello, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Especially those on Zoom. I have, full class of students in front of me, but what about students on Zoom? Can you hear me? Can you raise your hand or wave or say something?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Jack, for confirming. So thank you very much, Mike, for introducing the leadership certificate. We hope it will be a success. So thank you very much. I checked yesterday evening. We had like 35 students sign up. So I don't know what was the number right now. And guess what? My students already know this. My computer is freezing not every time, but from time to time, especially when it's connected to projector. And this is what happened right now. So I love you so much, Del. And by the way, I looked online because it's so frustrating, and there is an issue. They know that there is an issue about it since at least beginning of this year, and it looks like there's no fix for it. And it has to be software because it's enough to close and open the computer and it's working, right? So I have to do it. So you may lose me for a second, but don't worry, I will be back, okay? It's good that you are hosting, Mike, because if I were hosting, everybody would be blocked, okay? So I'm back. So I'm back. Okay, it's there. Let me set up. Mike, can you please allow me to share my screen? Right now you can do it on me. Okay, I can share right now. Okay, good. So let me start my presentation. So obviously it's just the first workshop in leadership, and leadership is such a huge topic that we will not talk about leadership in, even if we have separate course, not to mention the 45 minutes we have right now. So, but we will start with, I will start with a few questions. So let me, share the presentation first. Okay, so here it is, and let me share it. Mike, can you see the slide?
Yep.
Okay.
We're good.
So hopefully everyone is seeing the same thing what I'm seeing here. So this would be the first leadership workshop this semester, and this is organized by the Foster Center for Responsible Leadership and our great management and marketing department. And today I would like to make a few introductions into leadership. And let me start with a question to all of you here in the class and on Zoom. So please participate. Remember, it's a proactive duty for all of us to become leaders. But let's start with this question: is management or leadership difficult? Let's use those two terms as if they mean the same thing. And we can explain later what's the difference, but what do you think about this? Is management difficult? Anyone? Please raise your hand or say something. Especially those who sign up for the certificate. You can participate as well. I will note your participation. So anyone? Mike, maybe you can help.
Yes, it's very difficult. I think it's very challenging, Professor,
And why is that?
because people don't do what I want them to do.
Okay. So the first thing is that, leadership means, or management means, that we are working with people, right? It's no longer us. And in fact, next time I'll be more prepared, because I would like to draw something right now. I can do it for the class and for the Zoom. Can we do something like this? Okay, we have to have more tools. But I will draw something for you. Maybe you can show them the whiteboard so they can see the whiteboard as well.
I could try.
Yeah, you can just move your computer over there, right? I cannot move mine because I'm connected, right? So So working with people, what does it mean right now? So you are no longer alone, and excuse me, my drawing, okay, this is us, then this is me, this is you, and all of us. So this is a person, you know, and this is, I'm not very skilled with drawing, but so this is you as an employee, and this is your task. So if you are an employee, not a manager, so you can hear me, by the way, if you're on Zoom, on Mike's screen, okay? Right now I have basically two podiums right now. So I moved to another podium and I'm on a mic screen. So this is you, an employee, okay? And you have a wall here, you have to deal with some tasks. So this is relatively easy. You are just, fighting with your task. But as a leader, as a manager right now, so you are another person here, and you are no longer working directly with tasks, but you are working through others, okay? So it's a much complex problem right now because it's your people doing the tasks. You are working through other people. And this is one reason why management is difficult. You are no longer able to directly control what is being done here on those tasks, okay? So thank you very much, Mike. I'm coming back to my podium to get more answers. What do you think? Why do you think leadership management is difficult? So we know it's difficult because we have to work with other people. And if we say, okay, Alec, yeah.
I was just going to say to that point, you have to work with other people, and like we discussed in class, people everyone you kind of have to find a balance. Maybe delegate things, or how you treat people differently because of their personality. So I think it's a difficult balance.
Okay. So I don't know if you heard this on Zoom, but if not, I will just rephrase it. So we had Alec who said that, well, because we are working with people as leaders, managers, it means we have to deal with a bunch of issues, right? So for example, different personalities. So how to do this? We have to manage people who have different personalities. And we were just talking in the class about different personalities. It might not be easy, at least at the beginning, because first you have to know people, right? So managing different personalities. And if we're talking about leadership, think about things you have to do which are related to dealing with people. Selection, training, development, coaching, mentoring, negotiation, conflict resolution, right? All of those skills we have to possess as leaders and managers, right? Motivation, inspiring. So there are a bunch of skills, even if we just focus on other people we have to manage, right? But this is just one reason why management is difficult. What are the other reasons? What could be the other reasons? What do you think? Anyone? So working with people, right? So that's one reason why it's difficult. What else? I know that people on Zoom want to talk, but we don't hear you. So please unmute yourself and say something.
You might have people working for you, but you also might be working for someone else at the same time.
Okay, so it's not only that you are working through other people, but that you yourself are working for someone else. This is what you meant? Okay, so it means that, yes? Okay, so it means also that you have your own work. So it adds another layer of complexity, and it's in fact a very important skill of any leader and an employee to know how to manage your boss, okay? But it's still in the domain of dealing or working with people, okay? But anything else besides people, and we know that dealing with people requires lots of skills, but what else? What other things? Yes, someone on Zoom. Someone's not muted with your car or something. Okay, more comments. And what about organization itself, okay? So we are working in an organization. So what does it mean for management, for leadership, for us? If you are working in an organization, is it your own enterprise? I mean, sometimes, yes, if you are the owner, but if you are working for somebody else, what does it mean that we work for an organization in terms of difficulty? What kind of problems or challenges it creates for us? Yes, Ashley?
You have like specific standards that you have to like maintain.
So thank you very much. Yes, so the organization is not in a vacuum. It has its own standards, expectations, norms, culture, right? And we have to conform. It has create some kind of limitations on what we can do. This is another layer of complexity. The reason why management is difficult, because not only we work with people and through people, but we are constrained by the organization, right? We have to adapt to the organization. Usually we are also limited to what we can do and how we can do things. Some organizations may have very strong cultures, and we have to behave as it is expected in this organization, right? And it's not just about dress code, for example, but it's about the way we do work here. And we can give different examples, but let's just mention, let's say, Goldman Sachs, and you may correct me if I'm wrong, but it's an organization with a very strong culture in terms of, well, I would even call it aggressive culture, not even assertive culture, but aggressive culture. So you have to make deals, and basically it's a culture of up or out. Either you perform and you are promoted, or you are out from this company, right? And not every company is like this. And you can also think about the top consulting companies, which are also very assertive in that sense, that the expectations is that you either perform or you are out after a couple of years, okay? So only top performance stay in this company. So it's a very competitive culture. So if we add another layer of complexity, meaning that we work for organizations, what kind of skills you can think of as a leader, as a manager, so you would like to possess in order to be effective when working in organizations, on top of the skills we just mentioned for dealing with people. Anyone? Yes, Hannah? Excuse me? Adaptive, okay, adaptive to culture, adaptive to changes, or open to changes as well, because organizations are known for constant changes, especially right now. Even when I started my first job 20 years ago, I remember, this question until today. One of the first questions from HR was, do you expect, or are you fine with changes? Because there is only one sure thing about this organization, constant change. And I've been told this, in 2000, 20 years ago. So right now it's even worse, I would say, right? So change is constant in every organization. So we have to be prepared for change, right? And be able to respond. What else? What else you can think of in terms of leadership and organizations? What kind of skills we would need when working in organizations? Yes, Liv? Time management, yes, of course, and it applies to people, but also to organization. And if you mention time management, I guess we can broaden it and we say project management. Most likely, whenever you start job in an organization, you will have to manage projects, right? And different types of projects. So we have to have project management skills as well. Yeah, Alec?
Yeah, along with time management, just organizational skills, be able to handle everything that's on your plate at once, and not forget about something, or let something go through the cracks.
Okay, so we should be very well organized, right? We have to manage or juggle different things at the same time. But if we are mentioning this already, so what about influencing? What about politics in organizations? We have to be skilled in managing those things as well, right? And by politics, we mean all the actions we do or people do in organizations, build and develop their power bases, okay? And it's not something negative, we just need to be used to it. Politicking basically is a tool, or politics is a tool we should learn how to use as leaders, as managers. Okay, so we mentioned those two things. So we talk about people, we talk about organization, but one more thing I would like to mention here is that for manager and leader,
Can you share that on here?
it's not showing. Okay, you lost my presentation somehow. I don't know why. So just wait a second. Zoom. Fine, it's not sharing. Okay. So let me try one more time. Okay, now?
Yep.
Oh yeah, sorry. So perhaps when I close the computer, it stops sharing. Okay. Sorry about this, but you said everything. So right now I would like to focus on the third point, which is inherent conflicting demands. So this is what makes management and leadership even more difficult. So what do we mean by this? Now I lost my presentation from here. Max. And where is my presentation? Come on. So bear with me, I have to be more, okay, there's something here, okay, yes. So what does it mean to say that managers and leaders have inherent conflict demands? Have you experienced something like this, or have you observed in organizations you worked so far that managers, leaders, really, they face conflicting demands from different stakeholders or different situations? Anyone can share anything? Your experience or what you have observed so far in the organizations you worked for? Yes, Hannah?
You as a manager know the realistic like timeline of something, but maybe your boss doesn't understand the timeline, so you have like
Well, of course, it's always like this, right? So just Hannah mentioned, so like conflicting time demands, right? So you know that it takes time to implement a project, and even your employees, they will tell you, hey, boss, don't agree for this deadline, which is only 2 weeks. We need at least 2 months to do it, right? We have to implement this, fix this, and test the other functionality. But your boss or a customer, maybe they need the product now, today, or maybe in a week. So there is a very, strong, usually it's about time, strong fight between customer, your boss, and your team, because you want as much time as you can, and the customer just wants to finish, to have this product as soon as possible, right? So there's one reason or one example. What else? What other conflicting demands you can think of? Yes, Matt.
Having to cut jobs and knowing the effect it'll have on your employees.
So having to cut jobs, you mean like to size down, downsize? Okay, but why it's a conflicting demand?
Well, say you have a great relationship with a bunch of the people in your organization.
Oh, okay. So
Push for them to stay around.
okay, so we had a comment from the floor from Matt. So he said, well, I mean, sometimes there might be need from top management to downsize, to basically lay off your people, but at the same time, you know that they are good workers, right? And you want to keep them as much as you can, and you want to do everything as much as you can to keep them. But again, the demand from the organization could be, hey, we have to reduce costs, otherwise we might not survive. And those are very specific examples for very specific situations. And I guess for some of you who are working in different organizations, you may face it, I mean, or at least you may see how your bosses are reacting and what kind of conflicting demands they face, because this would be one of them. We have to cut costs, but at the same time, hey, we have to keep our best people, or all people. And I mean, we can talk about different examples. I can just mention about Victorinox. This is a Swiss company, and they had this kind of a rule that even if the economic times are difficult, they didn't lay off basically anyone for that reason. They always try to keep people because they know that their engineers, their employees are the best asset. Even though they face difficult times in 2001, where they basically lost their market share in the market demand in the US because they were selling pocket knives at the airplanes and at the airports, but it was banned after 9/11, which, by the way, there is an anniversary tomorrow, right? 19th anniversary, but that company responded in such a way that they rented their employees to other companies for some time instead of laying them off. And after they managed to recover, they took those employees back to their company. Okay, so let's move on. I would like to move fast a little bit because time is running. Another conflicting demand we can talk about is simplicity versus complexity. So you will be asked as a leader, as a manager, to provide simple solution in very complex situations, right? So on the one hand, you would prefer to have lots of information about the problem, about the situation, but you also expected to provide simple solution quickly from your boss, from your customers, even from your employees, right? So that's a conflicting demand. It can drive you crazy. There is another expectations or conflicting demands, being consistent versus being flexible, right? Being consistent, people are expecting that you will behave or you will treat everyone the same way in every situation. But there is also expectation, especially from employees, that you will treat them in a flexible way. Something happened, there is an emergency, or employees would expect some kind of exceptional treatment in some situations, right? So there is another layer of conflicting demands you have to face. Another one, and this is what may drive some managers crazy, reflection versus action. So you are paid in organizations, but what you do, what do you achieve, what your results, okay? But at the same time, you know that in order to be an effective leader, and you can just read and ask successful leaders, you need to spend some time for reflection. But nobody will pay you for reflection in the organization, and you will have no time, or nobody will give you this time. So that's a very strange situation that you have to set aside some time for reflection, how you do things, why are you doing them, what can be improved, how are the relationships at your team, how you manage them. But at the same time, you have to deliver, right? So there is no time for it, nobody will pay you for it. In fact, they will tell you, your bosses will tell you, you have to deliver here, we'll pay you for your outcomes. But the conflicting demand is that, hey, you have to spend some time on reflection. And I would like to quote one of my favorite management scholars, Henry Mintzberg, who says that reflection without action may be passive, but action without reflection is thoughtless. So just keep this in mind and never allow yourself to just focus on action. Think about reflection as well, even though, again, nobody will pay you for this and nobody will give you time, but you have to find time for reflection anyway. And one last thing I would like to mention is about global perspective versus local understanding. This has been a hot topic for the past quite a few years, where companies were expected to have global presence, but at the same time have local understanding, and the same will be expected from you as leaders, as managers, especially if you are working in corporations, multinationals, where you want to have, they want to have from you a global perspective. So they would expect bosses, the management, top managers, they would expect you understand how the global market is operating, but at the same time, they would expect that you have local knowledge and understanding of different markets, right? So, and sometimes it might be hard, especially if you are based in headquarters, but you are doing business with some other countries. So you have to find time to understand the local market, first of all, and also time to understand the global perspective, because again, nobody perhaps will give you time to do it. You have to train yourself in your free time if you find one. So those just few examples of why management could be difficult. Again, not to discourage you to take this path to become a leader or manager in the future, but just to show a little bit of reality. As a leader, as a manager, it's a tough job, but it could be very, very fulfilling, okay? So right now I would like to show you a short video. Let me start it first. And I will share it. So it's a short commercial from Super Bowl. And the commercial, in fact, is based on an old speech by Paul Harvey, who was a famous radio figure, back in 70s or 80s. And part of his speech, which we'll hear in a moment, was given in the Futures Farmers of America convention in 1978. So I was a very young person back then. And many of you haven't been born even. But listen to this speech, and the visuals you will see, well, they are related, but the speech is more important. And after you listen to it, try to replace the word farmer with the word leader or manager, okay? And we'll talk about what we can say in terms of conflicting demands or paradoxical traits for an effective leader, okay? So you will hear about farmers or a farmer, but change the word farmer to a leader or manager, okay? And we'll see what will happen. So to do this, I have to do two things, first of all. So the first one, I have to change what I share. Has to be this film. Okay. And the second thing, what I need to do is to move the screen here. Doesn't work.
All right, everybody, gather around.
Okay. So another thing, I don't know how it happened. Okay, maybe this one. Sorry. I also learned here. Okay, I have to find again this commercial. It's shared here. But can you just turn it around so they can see, so I won't bother with moving the screen here to the screen. They will hear it, just, the voice is more important. Okay, so let's do it.
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to get up before dawn, milk cows, work all day in the fields, milk cows again, eat supper, then go to town and stay past midnight at the meeting of the school board. So God made a farmer. I need somebody with arms strong enough to wrestle a calf and yet gentle enough to deliver his own grandchild. Somebody to call hogs, tame cantankerous machinery, come home hungry, have to wait lunch until his wife's done feeding visiting ladies, then tell the ladies to be sure and come back real soon and mean it. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to sit up all night with a newborn colt and watch it die, then dry his eyes and say, maybe next year. I need somebody who can shape an axe handle from a persimmon sprout, shoe a horse with a hunk of car tire, who can make harness out of hay, wire, feed sacks, and shoe scraps, who planting time and harvest season will finish his 40-hour week by Tuesday noon and then paint him from tractor back, put in another 72 hours. So God made a farmer. God had to have somebody willing to ride the ruts at double speed. You got the hay in ahead of the rain clouds, and yet stop in midfield and race to help when he sees the first smoke from a neighbor's place. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody strong enough to clear trees and heave bales, yet gentle enough to yean lambs and wean pigs and tend the pink-combed pullets who will stop his mower for an hour to split the broken leg of a meadowlark. So God made a farmer. It had to be somebody who'd plow deep and straight and not cut corners. Somebody to seed, weed, feed, breed, and rake and disc and plow and plant and tie the fleece and strain the milk and replenish the self-feeder and finish a hard week's work with a 5-mile drive to church. Somebody who'd bail a family together with the soft, strong bonds of sharing, who would laugh and then sigh and then reply with smiling eyes when his son says that he wants to spend his life doing what Dad does. So God made a farmer.
Okay, so let me come back to the presentation. So what did you see here? Again, if you can recall the speech, just replace word farmer with manager or leader. So what kind of conflicting demands, or I would call it paradoxical traits, in fact, because this speech was about traits of a farmer. But again, just replace word farmer with a leader and manager. So what kind of paradoxical traits you could identify in this speech? So what is expected from an effective leader and manager, just based on the, or drawing on this speech? What kind of behaviors or traits? Yes, Lee. Yeah, so hard worker, and if you try to think in terms of paradoxical traits, so being a hard worker on one side, what could you put on another side? Just if you can recall. Okay, knows when to stop. Yes, I mean, we have this example. So very hard working. And do you remember what was the example of hard work here? So do you remember how many hours they said were on Tuesday noon? 40 hours already, right? By Tuesday noon. So this is the basically engagement or effort. But at the same time, having or finding time to celebrate with family or with friends, right? With coworkers, for example, we can extend it and build on those examples, right? So hardworking, yes, but at the same time, knowing when to stop and having time to celebrate with family or friends or coworkers, right? Thank you very much, Liz. What else? Other examples you could identify? Yes.
You said something about like strong enough to wrestle an ox, but gentle enough to help give birth to his grandson. So you could think about that as like a leadership strategy where if someone isn't maybe complying or they're not putting in enough effort, you have the strength to speak up and be like, you need to do better. But you also, maybe if someone's going through a tough time at home or something and you're aware of this, you know to be more gentle and kind of back off and let them deal with it.
Yeah, okay, yes, thank you very much, Eva, for this comment. Yeah, so great, another great paradoxical trait. So as a leader, as a manager, you would be expected to be strong on one hand, so being able to make hard decisions, being able to give constructive feedback, for example, but at the same time, or on the other hand, you would be expected to be a gentle person, right, or sensitive, right, especially, for example, when your employees are going through hard time and they need some time off, or basically we need to be empathetic as well. So being able to do hard stuff and also stuff which requires some delicacy, right, or sensitivity. So again, paradoxical traits, but those effective leaders, they have both, they can do both, okay? What else? Anything else you could see, could identify? Yes, Andy. So what was the sacrifice?
Farmer was getting up super early before so I like the example of like part of the school meeting.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it's not only about being, you know, a hard worker in your domain, but still you have some time for being engaged like somewhere else, like you mentioned the school board. This is extra job basically, right? You have to do it, or you don't have to do it, but if you are a leader and manager, it would be nice if you are involved also in other things in your life, not only your job. So finding time or being able to sacrifice, right? And I don't know if you notice this other example, even though we know that, that the farmer or leader manager is a hardworking person who basically finishes his 40-hour week by Tuesday noon, but still he or she is able to find time to help his neighbor or her neighbor. In case of the organization, it could be, even though you are very busy with your staff, but you still find time to help your employee, your peer maybe in the organization, right? Or whoever needs help in the organization. In this speech, it was the help in the context of fire in your neighbor house, right? So even though you have your own job to do, but hey, you left everything and try to help your neighbor because it's an emergency situation, right? So those examples are very nice examples if Okay. So I would like to summarize some of the things you mentioned. So we are being strong, tough, yet at the same time gentle, sensitive. This we didn't talk about it, but it was clearly in the speech that a farmer or a leader, a manager is someone who can do many things by himself or herself, but yet at the same time, he or she knows that it's not self-sufficient, right? We are working, I mean, he or she is working with a team and with other people. So even though I know how to do things, and perhaps I would do everything by myself, hey, but I'm not self-sufficient. Otherwise, there will be no time for leadership or management. I have to work with other people. They have to work as well. They have to help me doing the job. Ambitious yet humble. So this is what I would see in this short speech. So ambitious basically means setting high standards for yourself, but also for your team, and being humble, because when you achieve success, when you meet your goals, well, of course, you are very happy, but you don't take the full glory. You know that it was a teamwork, and maybe even sometimes luck, because we can talk about luck in business, maybe not today and next time, but you are humble enough to acknowledge that things happen and success happened not just because of you, but it was team effort. Okay? Hardworking yet having time to celebrate. We talked about it. Committed to work, yet helping others. We just mentioned this as well. And one last thing I would like to mention is about being a role model. So I don't know if you recall, it was one of the last sentences. So a farmer was happy when his son said, hey, I would like to be like you in the future. So you know that you can become a role model, especially if you do what you need to do as a leader and manager. But yet again, you are modest, so you don't become a celebrity, because suddenly you realize that other people can basically follow you and you can be a role model for them. So I just pointed those few paradoxical traits, because as leaders, as managers, you will face those paradoxical situations, and you will realize that in order to be an effective manager, effective leader, you will also have to have those paradoxical traits, being able to respond to different situations. And I would like to quote again my favorite management scholar, who is Henry Mintzberg, and who also was well surprised, because he was doing research talking to top management especially, and he realized very early in his career as a management scholar that the job of a manager, of a leader, is a very tough job, and in fact it's full of paradoxical situations and full of conundrums which cannot be solved. And he says that these conundrums cannot be alleviated, but never eliminated. So as a leader, as a manager, even though we might want to work towards a situation where there will be no paradoxes, no conflicting demands, but it's not possible, right? We can alleviate those situations or those paradoxes, those conundrums, but we cannot eliminate them forever. And we can also maybe reconcile those conundrums, those paradoxes, but never solve. So it's, again, not to discourage you to take leadership roles and managerial roles, but to build your attitude towards this kind of paradoxical world. But again, you can thrive there. It's just a matter of practice and self-development, where you can combine those paradoxical traits and apply them as situation demands, okay? And you will be effective and very effective. So how much time do we have?
9 minutes till 8:30.
Okay. So 9 minutes. So let's do it quick. So that was just an introduction, okay, to leadership, and one of the way you can introduce leadership or management. And as we mentioned, effective leadership, effective management. So I guess everyone wants to become an effective leader, effective manager. One way to do it is through specific behaviors, okay? And research shows that there are some specific behaviors which relate to managerial effectiveness. And I would like to mention just one today, which is feedback giving and receiving, okay? This might not be surprising to some of you, but in fact, research has shown this is feedback giving and receiving is one of 16 behaviors found to be important for leadership success, okay? So I just chose this one because I like it. And I like to run this exercise right now. Again, we have not very much time, but I would like to do something like this. So let's imagine, so we want to learn how to give feedback, okay? So I would like to ask you right now to provide critical feedback, so I mean constructive feedback related to this semester. So not only to this class, I'm talking to students right now who are in the classroom, but those who are on Zoom, anything you can share, any kind of feedback, critical feedback, constructive feedback. So I'm not asking for like prizing or saying, oh, how good it is. I'm looking for things where you have something constructive to say, something critical, okay? And of course, be honest, it doesn't count towards your grade. And I put a few examples. So you may have something to say about the way classes are organized this semester, about online hybrid mode, about how teamwork is done this semester. Maybe there are some problems, more problems than usually. And anything which is school related or college related, okay? So please, be active right now. We don't have much time, but I would like to start this exercise to give you some tips and tricks about feedback giving. So anyone, any constructive feedback about the semester, anything which comes to your mind, and be honest and don't be afraid. We can even remove it from recording later. Come on, there is always something. Yes, Alex.
Utilization of technology could be better.
Okay, utilization of technology can be better. So what do you mean by this? Can you give example?
Just using Zoom and other related things up to their full potential, and other things to facilitate maybe communication and teamwork.
Okay, so you would complain, or you would say, you would give constructive feedback in a sense that technology could be used more efficiently. And why is that? I mean, why technology could be used more efficiently? What would be the better outcome? And you said communication?
Yeah, facilitate communication maybe between classmates or professors and classmates. I feel like this kind of session where all the people on Zoom are muted, there's not a lot of communication there. Maybe that could be better, like this kind of environment where we can easily communicate with you.
Okay, so you would complain, or well, don't call it complain. Let's not call it complaining, but you would say that well, this technology could be put into the better use because the communication could be better. And I guess you mean more hybrid classes or online classes than just face-to-face classes, right? You mean this kind of organization. Okay, thank you very much. What point well taken? Yes.
Can I just follow up on that and ask if you have a suggestion for the technology that we could use? What comes to my mind is Socrative. Is that something that you might be thinking of? Because then everybody could pitch in online. It's really a challenge from our perspective, I think, to bring the content to the students across all different mediums all at the same time. And any ideas you guys have about how to make it better or easier or more useful for you is most welcome. Do you think Socrative will be a platform that we should incorporate?
What is the name of the platform?
Socrative.
Socrative.
The kids can type questions and.
Okay, so you can do it on Zoom, right? But of course, I mean, we can talk about it, but thank you very much for this question because that was my second step and our follow-up question to this comment. But we have another comment. So what was another comment?
There needs to be more like collaborative spaces for group projects and stuff. We we were trying to work on our project together, like, I went to the library to try to meet, and we weren't able to work on it there because there's,
Okay, so you mean like the case project for this class?
yeah, for this class, we tried to go to the library, but we weren't able to sit together.
Oh, okay, okay. So I don't know if you're here on Zoom. So there was a comment from the class that there should be more collaborative spaces, especially for those students who are on campus, right? And in fact, you need to update me in terms of the rules. So even though you work as a team, if you go to the library, you basically have to sit, one table, and next person can sit,
Yeah, we weren't able.
So basically, there's no collaboration, right? Unless, you just chat or maybe do Zoom session, but it doesn't make sense to be in the library, right? Okay, and so what's the problem with it? If there's no collaboration space, then what's the problem with it? Okay, so teamwork is very difficult. The only thing you can do it, perhaps you can go off campus and basically sit to each other where nobody sees you, right? Or something like this, which perhaps even it is not encouraged by the administration here. And I don't encourage it either, but that's the problem, right? What else you can do? Can we find another solution if, let's say, library is not useful for teamwork right now? What about you, let's say you all, as a team meeting on Zoom and trying to do work? Is it the same or it's not the same? Is it not helpful?
I think it's a little bit more difficult to try to coordinate on Zoom as opposed to people working together.
Okay, so it's more difficult, but so we would need to talk about it, okay? If there is one more example, because I would like to follow up with at least few guidelines for feedback before we finish this session, okay? So I need 5 more minutes, okay, at least. No more examples or no more comments, no more feedback. So we've heard 2 examples, okay? So thank you for those comments, and I think we have to talk to the administration about these collaborative spaces as well. And what are the rules? But we have rooms, right, for the teamwork. Can you use them or not? Are they closed?
They're closed?
The ones in Swan are, they close everything after 5 o'clock.
Oh, after 5 o'clock, you mean? Or they are closed all the time?
The class is closed at 5. But you're only supposed to be in there by yourself. If you're here in my like the study room, you're only supposed to be there by yourself.
Okay, so that's really difficult for teamwork, right? Because you can be here, we are like 25 people right now in this room. So why can you be by like 3 or 4 people as a team in the same room after class, right? That's something we need to talk about. But one of the purpose of this exercise was to hear your feedback. Thank you very much for this. But another purpose was basically to go over rules. How can we give effective feedback? So what are the rules for effective feedback? We skip those questions. We just jump directly into some of the rules. And now we make some connections to the questions we just discussed. Okay, I see some chat. Okay. That doesn't matter. So the first rule, please remember this, is the feedback has to be based or should be based on objective information. So as you were giving examples right now, so you said, okay, so it's not a good use of technology, and you gave specific examples. So this is objective information. You also gave specific examples about the space for collaboration, right? There's none, and it's not just your opinion, but this is how it is. So if you are in an organization, if you want to give feedback to your employee, for example, or your peer, always base your feedback on objective information, or as objective as it is possible. So don't say something like this: I've heard from your colleague that you were doing this, week ago. It's just, you've heard something, maybe they are just rumors and it's not true even. So it has to be based on objective information. In organizations, when you have goals, for example, you have sales or quality numbers, you can have objective data, or relatively objective data, right, for these outcomes. So once you have, this is not all obviously, once you have objective information, talk about actions, talk about activities, focus on actions, not on personalities. So if you say something like this, you are lazy, you are stupid, you're done. Feedback is done. I mean, nobody will listen to you. Feedback will be not effective. Nobody will like to hear feedback from you from that moment. We have to focus on actions, right? So instead of saying you are lazy, you may ask, okay, we've noticed that you were late to work last week twice. So could you please explain what happened, right? Because we had to wait for you. It's a teamwork, and we couldn't start work without you. So first of all, you are not using condescending tone. You're not talking about personalities. You focus on action. Okay. And third point, very important, and we need to practice it more when giving feedback. Focus on the effects of action. That's why I asked Alec and Michael, okay, so why do you think it's a problem? Because it leads to poor communication, or because we cannot collaborate as a team. So our teamwork basically is worse. So just summarizing those 3 rules: base your feedback always, or not always, but on objective or as objective information as you can. Second of all, focus on actions. So what you are doing is problematic, not who you are is problematic, but what you are doing. And third point, focus or describe the effects of actions. So it's not only that you are doing this, but those behaviors or your actions or lack of actions, it leads to this and this outcome, and it's bad. This outcome is bad for our team, for the entire organization. So once we have those 3 points here, it's easier then for the other person to understand why my behavior, my actions are not desired and not welcome, because they lead to certain bad outcomes, and those outcomes are clear as in the 3rd point. And the 4th point, in fact, we try to do it during the exercise, because Mike asked, okay, so what we can do together. So you gave feedback to us, and if you were a boss, you were giving feedback to us employees, don't leave us employees alone, okay? So after getting agreement, so we agreed that, well, and we agree we use technology maybe not to the best extent yet. So the next step is to start joint problem solving. So especially as a leader, as a manager, don't leave your employee alone. Okay, you did this, it was wrong, it led to those bad outcomes, and now it's your job. You have to fix it. Never do this. Never leave your employee alone. It's much better to say, okay, so we know what happened. We have a problem here. So how can I help you? Or what we can do together to improve those behaviors or to improve those actions. So if you use the word we, the person who's receiving feedback, even if it's a constructive or critical feedback, then he or she knows that he's not alone. She's not alone in the situation, and there's someone, his or her boss, leader, who is able to help him or her. Okay. So joint problem solving. This is the 4th rule, which is very, very important as well. And I know we are running out of time. So I would like to maybe mention about difficult situations. So for example, what can happen if there is an agreement? So someone may agree, hey, well, I agree that I did this, but I don't agree that my actions led to those negative outcomes. It can happen, right? Someone may agree, okay, I did this, but I don't agree that my behavior led to those outcomes or led to those problems, okay? So then, if it happens, the advice is basically, well, just wait for next occurrence of the same action and explain one more time, okay? And we talked about it already, but we noticed the same behavior again, and this is what happened. So it led to this and that bad or negative behavior. So now we have to take it more seriously. We have to work together. So how can I help you, or what we can do together to reduce chances in the future that this behavior would happen again, right? One more thing is, sometimes in organizations, and I face it, I saw it when a person gets a critical feedback, he or she may start crying or or gets very emotional, okay? It can happen even in organizations. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's in personal relationship. In organizations also those things happen. People get emotional. What to do in those situations? So if you are the one giving this constructive critical feedback, don't start or don't jump with more arguments, rational arguments. Just wait. Maybe you have to handle the tissue if someone is crying, and you may say, okay, so let's meet tomorrow or later, right? Once the person calms down, basically, and try to solve the situation one more time, or explain or discuss the situation one more time. And one last thing, or last but one, whatever happens, so you discuss the feedback, you gave feedback, you start joint problem solving, always follow up, right? And see whether there's a progress. If there is a progress, a change, so congratulate an employee. If there is no change, no progress, nothing happened, even though you agree that some things will be done, well, we have to follow up, right? So we have to take some action. Either we have to give feedback one more time, or if there was a plan, improvement plan, or you name it, we have to make sure that things are followed. And one last thing is about using your good judgment. So don't jump with feedback, with critical feedback, for example, to senior employees, that it may happen that you will become a manager, a leader, and you will have a team where everyone is older than you, or maybe even much older than you, right? So don't jump with your feedback every time you see that someone made a mistake, because we all make mistakes. And you may realize that this senior employee, for example, if you were managing me, may also realize that he or she made a mistake and correct it by himself or herself, right? So you don't need to jump with feedback every time you see something was not okay, because maybe it was just, an honest error, and someone just, fix it very quickly. So that would be everything for today. I know that, there's so many things to talk about in terms of leadership. And we just started, so hopefully we'll continue those workshop series. So thank you very much. And I don't know if Todd or Mike.
Can I say one thing real quick?
Yes. So we have.
Just 1 second. Hey, Maddie Hayden, are you still on?
You have to be here. So we have Todd.
Yes, I'm on.
Still on?
Yeah.
Maddie, pop on your microphone. I got to talk to you, okay?
Okay, hi.
Can I see you?
Sure.
Let me see. I'm trying to listen to you. Okay. Oh, there you are. You see. Hey, Maddie. Does everybody see? Can't see Maddie, okay, but she's here. Hey, Maddie. Wait a second, guys. Just 1 minute. Maddie, explain to everybody what happened tonight when I was walking over here.
Yeah, I think like your mic was on and it just kept creating a lot of loud noises, and I noticed it was coming from your.
Maddie, basically, I was walking over here by traffic and it was screwing up the feedback, right? How'd you figure out it was me?
Your name kept popping up every time the loud noise would come up.
My name kept popping up, right? So all of a sudden, there I am, oblivious to the world, and these two dudes over here in this room talking to these guys right here, and you're there online and getting all this crap going on, and you figure it out. And then what did you do, Maddie?
I just chatted you really quick to let you know.
So was it intimidating to tell me, Palmer, turn up to mute your microphone?
No.
It wasn't. Why not, Maddie?
Because it helped everybody else out.
Okay, Maddie. Maddie became a leader tonight. We got it? She had a problem. It was, I'm a professor. I'm an old dude. She texted me. She said she figured it out. She solved the problem. And Maddie, I am going to salute you because you did the right thing. And you did exactly, saluted me back right there. That's what I love. Thank you, Maddie. I just wanted to point that out, okay?
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you for being here tonight. So hopefully we'll see each other more often. And again, if you want to sign up, it's still time to sign up for leadership certificate. So those in the classroom, especially if you haven't done it yet and if you think it's something for you, just do it. And we'll see. We'll see who's there on the list. So thank you very much again, and have a good night. And we'll see each other next Thursday. Okay?
Thank you, everybody. All you Zoomers, thank you.
Bye, Zoomers.
Bye.
Have fun, Zoomers. I'm waving at you, Zoomers. Bye.
Bye, thank you.
Bye, Valentina. Bye, Reeds.
Hi.
Bye, dudes. Bye.